Ah, welcome. I've been expecting you. In this first ever episode of my Quacks and Quackery collection, I shall be examining the work of Manuel Flush, creator of the Flush method of complete mind control. Manuel Flush was a toilet engineer from Zapatillo in southern Ecuador. During the early 1950s, Flush had been looking at ways to enhance his children's learning abilities. You see, Flush had become increasingly frustrated that his children's low to average grades at school weren't of the high standard one would expect from the progeny of a toilet engineer. Flush had tried all sorts of methods to raise his children's grade averages, experimenting with musical learning, hypnosis, and electroshock therapy, but nothing seemed to work. Then one evening, Flush started thinking about his experiences as a toilet engineer and began to wonder if he could apply what he had learned from toilet mechanics to his children. Flush reasoned that if toilets can get blocked and yet be unblocked, surely the same principle might apply to the human brain. Using his extensive knowledge of outhouse and bathroom plumbing, Flush began experimenting on his children, utilizing some of the tools he had used to unblock toilets, and sure enough, Flush's children's grades did improve. In fact, his eldest daughter, Isabella, received an A+ in geography, a subject in which he had previously been unable to achieve anything better than a D grade. Flush was delighted, and, ruling out anything obvious such as his daughter's incentive to study harder in order to avoid having industrial-grade chemicals poured into her ears, he set about formalizing his important and fascinating methodology. But then, something amazing happened. One night, whilst putting Isabella to bed, Flush decided to read her favorite bedtime story of Little Red Riding Hood. Flush asked his daughter if she would like to hear a bedtime story and, to his utter amazement, she blurted out, "Read Little Red Riding Hood." Flush was dumbstruck. How could his daughter have known from all the probably trillions of children's bedtime stories out there that he was about to read her favorite one, as he did most nights? Flush drew the very clear and obvious conclusion. His daughter had somehow managed to transcend into a higher dimensional state of consciousness, whereby she could travel into the future and actually witness her father reading the story to her before it had happened. For Flush, it was undeniably self-evident that he had somehow trained his daughter to be a clairvoyant, simply by treating her brain as if it were a blocked lavatory. But then tragedy struck. Cancelling the bedtime story altogether, telling little Isabella to just go to sleep, Flush rushed to his office to type up his findings, only to trip on some of his children's toys that appeared to be carefully lined up along the top of the stairwell. Flush broke his pelvis in 5 places and was rushed to hospital, where he spent the next 3 weeks recovering, going over his notes to see exactly how he had trained his eldest daughter to become a psychic time traveler. As he remarked,
"How is it possible that I have enabled my daughter to be able to see into the future using toilet products? To me it is clear. In unblocking her mind, I have unblocked some kind of intrinsic psychic power laying hidden in the unconscious depths of the human mind. More work must be done, as clearly my daughter's ability to perceive the future is still somewhat limited. She did, after all, fail to tell me that I was about to fall down the stairs."
Flush had been wondering if his mind unblocking techniques would work on adults. He set up his first ever seminar in an old abandoned banana packing warehouse on the outskirts of Zapatillo. Only 6 people turned up. And yet, despite the poor turnout, the seminar was somewhat of a success. Aside from the one participant who ran from the building screaming after Flush tipped bleach into her eyes, the remaining 5 attendees reported positive outcomes. Perhaps the most notable was Fernando de Bisquet, a llama herder who had wandered up from Peru because the Catamayo River had dried up that summer and he was no longer sure where the border was. De Bisquet had been a lifelong sufferer of tinnitus and following Flush's seminar reported that the near-persistent ringing in his ears that he had suffered with all of his life had miraculously vanished. The response was phenomenal, and Flush found himself an overnight success. In 1958, he self-published his lectures in a book titled Unblock Your Psyche, The Flush Method of Complete Mind Control. In the book, Flush advocated that any person could unleash their true potential. In his own words,
"The human mind is like a toilet. If it isn't maintained correctly, it can be blocked, which halts the progress of its usefulness. From an early age, we are subjected to many things that can cause these blockages. Our parents, our education system, the friends we make. Society on the whole is like a giant slow-moving stool that prevents anything else going in. But give me your brain, and I will remove the stool. I will unblock it."
In 1961, Flush released a series of self-help lessons in the form of recorded audio tapes. The lessons were an attempt to move away from the concept of unblocking in any literal sense, with a move toward what Flush termed transmeditative unblocking. The following is an extract, Lesson 3 of Tape 6, Finding Your Happy Toilet.
I want you to close your eyes. I am going to count slowly down from 10 to 0. When I reach the number 0, I will remove the first part of your blockage. 10, 9, 8, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome, 0, ethereal plane. I want you to focus on your forehead, then the chest, then the abdomen, and then lastly, the anus. Are you feeling relaxed? Good. I want you to picture your favorite toilet. This may be a toilet from your childhood. It is your happy toilet. Take in all that your happy toilet has to offer. Memorize your happy toilet. Have you learned it? Good.
You gonna be long?
Sorry, this one is occupied.
Initially, sales of the self-help tapes were good, but unfortunately, success did not last for Manuel Flush. In fact, his meteoric rise to stardom looked relatively sluggish when compared to the sheer speed at which he received what finally amounted to 18,726 criminal lawsuits. Far from reporting anything such as increased mental clarity or unlocked hidden psychic powers, the vast majority of those who had listened to Flush claimed nothing more than lists of hideous plunger-related injuries and third-degree chemical burns. And far from curing tinnitus, the Flush method, as it became known in the courts and newspapers, was actually the single biggest cause of tinnitus in Ecuador for the years 1959 through to 1961. Bankrupt, humiliated, and ostracized by his own children, Flush became something of a recluse, disappearing almost completely from public view. A 1978 documentary by Californian filmmaker Frosty Dickets tracked him down and found him living in a shed near Bolsa del Diablo, just across the border in northern Peru. The shed belonged to Flush's former patient, Fernando de Biscuit, who in the documentary claimed that he still had faith in the Flush method of complete mind control, as his tinnitus had never returned. Although following a thorough medical examination, it was later revealed that the reason de Biscuit never heard ringing in his ears again is because he never heard anything. His entire auditory canal had been completely obliterated during the original seminar. The documentary team also managed to track down Jorge Arturo Suez, Flush's former supervisor from his days as a toilet engineer. Suez claimed that in the 3 years he had worked with Flush, he had noted his success rate for unblocking toilets as about 1 in 10. claiming that Flush was the worst plumber they had ever had at the company. And thus ends tonight's episode of Quacks and Quackery, and I think it holds an important lesson that can be summed up with a quote by Henry David Thoreau, who once said, "Any fool can make a stool, and any fool will mind it." Good night, viewers.